everybody. Welcome to the county seat today. I'm your host, Chad Booth. We are not in the studio. We are across the state border. We are in the North Kaibab Forest, National Forest in our neighboring state of Arizona. Today we are going to be talking about some innovative ways of looking at forest management as this forest is going through planning currently. So we are going to start our program today by looking at some of the things that they have done and accomplished, and we will come back with a panel of experts to talk about things they are trying to accomplish. First, let's get out on the ground.
Here with the Forest Service, here on the North Kaibab Ranger District. Our new project is called KPEP. It's the Kaibab Plateau Ecosystem Restoration Project. It's to restore, bring fire back into the ecosystem across about 511,000 acres. The purpose and need for the KPEP project is that through years of fire suppression and lack of natural fire, we've got very dense forest conditions. And so the KPEP project is to bring prescribed fire back on the landscape in a safe, sound manner to try to thin these overstocked forests and to recycle nutrients and have the normal functioning ecosystems for watershed, wildlife, recreation. By studying tree rings and past fire scars, we've seen that here in the Southwest is fire. You cannot exclude it from the ecosystem. Fire will occur. KPEP is a project that will allow us to reintroduce fire safely on the landscape, and it's across 511,000 acres. If we don't bring fire safely back on the landscape, then we have a risk of stand replacing wildfire, and we've all seen the devastating results of uncontrolled wildfire.
This is a ponderosa pine stand that would historically burn every 5 to 30 years. We have gone in yesterday and just doing a little touch up today of applying some prescribed fire on the ground. The intent of that prescribed fire is to reduce fuel loads, return fire into a fire adaptive ecosystem, protect the lodge here, also make sure we can keep the highways open, keep traffic flowing in the event of a large fire. This will really help protect this area in the event of a wildfire approaching the area. Natural lightning caused fires account for a good 90% of the wildfires. Humans, account for the other 10%. So the vast majority of our fires do indeed occur by lightning. We are reducing the fuels, restoring the ecosystem. Now, in the event that a lightning strike does occur, the fire which would result in this area would be of much lower intensity. Firefighters would have a greater success rate in being able to suppress those fires.
So KPEP and future NEPA that will allow logging will be done to help us maintain a sustainable population of trees of all sizes, including our precious large old growth ponderosa pine.
Yeah, this forest has had a good deal of management, commercial timber harvest, small tree thinning, and also prescribed burning, which we saw a little bit before. This would be the third treatment in this area. The first treatment probably took place in about the 1960s with some of these older stumps here. Open up the stands, protect it from major disturbance like wildfire, but also to improve the prey base and just the whole ecosystem for animals, not just goshawks, but other types of wildlife as well. That all benefits from these treatments. This area here is an example of an area that needs management. Very dense, very thick young trees. We call these dog hair thickets in ponderosa pine. They're definitely a fire hazard and a fire danger. And just an example of that, more than 500 trees per acre, which is really unnatural. It's not historic. historically we would have sometimes less than 100 trees per acre in these areas. So this is still pretty dense in here for larger trees, and we'll have a commercial treatment here eventually to thin that out to a more healthy condition.
We feel that our forest management practices lately are a good example of sound forest management for generations to come.
Bear Lake is rich in friendships and color this fall. Explore countless miles in some of Rich County's best off-road trails. Whether you enjoy the pace fast or slow, there will be plenty for you to explore. Vibrant reds and yellows await you in this magnificent landscape. Come spend some time with us this fall exploring our trails, Rich County.
There's a little place on a Utah map where I was raised, where my heart's at, where the sagebrush grows wild and high, and the stars come out at night. Oh, there ain't nothing like being raised in the basin with a Ute reservation, skiing starvation, that Duchesne County life.
149 million years in the making, dinosaurs once roamed this land. Now they're found at the Dinosaur National Monument. Let's take you beyond the bones. We call it Dinosaur Land. You'll find it offers adventures and sights not seen anywhere else in the world. Come to Dinosaur Land, Vernal, Utah. You'll want to stay forever. The dinosaurs did.
All local products have a story of magical places, real people, and delicious recipes spanning generations. So go ahead and discover flavors you've never tasted and friends you never knew you had. Utah's own Discover Local Food.
Welcome back to the county seat. We're having a conversation today about some innovative ways to look at forest management and deal with some of the changing conditions in the western forests. This has been a year where the topic has been front and center in a lot of states, and so it's always interesting to find a new way to look at things. Joining us for our conversation, Commissioner Jim Mattson from Kane County, Utah, who has background in forestry, and the District Ranger for the North Kaibab, Randall Walker. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So I would like to start by just doing a little bit of a recap of where we've been. How do you see the way you manage the forest now as being different than it was managed 20 years ago?
I think we probably have more public involvement with some of our processes. We had, in 1976, there was a National Forest Management Act that came out, and since then we've been involving the public, but I think now we try to do more collaborative type things with folks to up front so that they're on board with what we're doing and they understand how we're managing the forest. So
how are things different than they have been previously? What are some of these new things that you have incorporated in the last couple of years?
I think right now we're in the process, we've got kind of a new process of doing our NEPA process, which was what I mentioned, the National Environmental Policy Act. We're trying to do larger scale landscape areas under that and do them more quickly to get it out on the ground so we can implement it, because we do have a lot of land out there that has overstocking and things like that, because we haven't been logging, we haven't been thinning, we haven't had fire on the landscape for the last 20 years at least. And fire on the landscape, you know, we kind of started putting fires out 100 years ago.
So in some of the other shows that we've done, and you might help us here with this, Jim, part of, you know, logging used to be a large part of how the forest was managed, and I would imagine through the collaborative process it's been in that period of time that a lot of the commercial logging has stopped and sales have become shorter term and smaller, which makes it harder for somebody to commercially be engaged with the Forest Service. Is that something that could change to the benefit of the costs of maintaining healthy forests?
There's no doubt about it in my mind. I think the key thing that is evolving and has been changing over, let's say, the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years is that Randall's mentioned collaboration. You know, that takes a lot of work, particularly when you've got as many interest groups as we have that have a stake in this thing. Anywhere from the environmental interests clear through to local economies with people that want to invest, let's say, in Fredonia or Knab or Panguitch for that matter, and put a sawmill in. And so they get going with a program and a process, and then they knock on the ranger's door and say, all right, where's my next 2 million board feet? And somebody says, well, we haven't quite got to that yet. Well, what do I do with my $20 million sawmill? How do I operate through these processes while this is all going on? So as this has been maturing and coming to this particular point, it would be my hope that we'll have something that benefits the land, the landscapes, and we can get into the business of talking about acres treated and watersheds sustained, and that we reduce the risk and the hazards. So I've given you a very long answer, but that's kind of the way I see it. And this is what this forest is attempting to do in a fashion that we can utilize more better.
One question that would come to mind, because there are going to be people watching this show right now that say, yeah, evil, disgusting foresters or logging industry shouldn't be involved. We should be completely hands-off and let nature do its thing. What would be the result to this forest if we did that, Randall? As trees grow, and if we don't thin them out and things, they just grow for themselves, and they're not really concerned with the values that humans have and the economies that we have here as well. You'd have overstocking, and you've seen a lot of the results of the devastating forest fires that we've had just because there's so many trees. The crown canopy is closed, and there's ladder fuels. And if we do logging and thinning and do fire on the landscape, prescribed fire, we actually thin those trees out and we reduce the intensity of the fire if it does come, or when it does come as a wildfire. So are these catastrophic fires that we have now, and we've seen across the West and in California, when man wasn't dominant in the landscape, they used to be there just because we didn't engage in the forest and the population just moved on? I mean, Governor Brown just commented in this last week, he said, this is the new abnormal where we're going to have these huge and massive fires, and we just need to learn to live with it because our environment's changed. Is that a fair assessment, or is it because we are taking a non-touch? I mean, can we do better?
We absolutely can, and we have to, because if we destroy watersheds, or we end up with a lot of people dying because of crown fires and the rest of it, when there's an alternative out there that'll actually manage those acres in a more effective way, environmentally, whatever the rest of it's going to be, to the extent that even a judge would be able to understand this thing as it's being described by Randall Walker and his team.
So, Randall, do you think it's possible, in your experience, that if all the shackles were loosed, that you could manage perpetually a forest in a pristine and healthy state? Just, I'd say in its prime, I guess would be a way to say that.
If I had the budget and the personnel to actually do the work on the ground, I believe we could. That's one reason we're doing this project right now that we're working with. We're calling it the Kaibab Plateau Ecological Restoration Project, kind of a long term. We've shortened that to KPEP. And so that's a project we're working on. It's on the plateau. It's my district is actually 655,000 acres, and the project we're working on is 511,000 acres.
Oh, so it's actually most of your district.
Most of the district. We removed the wilderness areas because we don't do active management in the wilderness areas, and then we do have a couple of other projects that we've already got on the books that we didn't want to modify those for what we're working on.
Do you think that there's a possibility in the future that if we start managing forests to their prime, that the only place destructive fires will happen is in the hands-off areas of a wilderness area?
without a doubt.
I know you're not going to answer that because that's not but he's outside.
You know, there's always that day, you know, that something's going to happen where you cannot plan for, and we're not, you know, we'd have to have a huge budget and a huge number of personnel to actually implement this. We're trying to prioritize areas so that we can spatially, you know, slow down fires or get better control of fires in different areas, and then also provide for local economies as well.
So if you do that in kind of a graduated step, and you say I can't do it all at once, I don't have the budget, but if you're picking and prioritizing projects, can you actually get ahead of the prioritization so that in a long term you'd actually get to a point where you have the forest in balance?
To a certain degree. I mean, the trees keep growing, and so you have to go back. You know, you have to have a certain rotation of 20 years of treatment of even the prescribed fires. And with the harvest, you know, we go in and take a certain number of trees, and we leave trees. We try to leave the forest as natural as possible. Up here we have ponderosa pine and mixed conifer. And ponderosa pine, we treat it as an uneven age management, and so that means that we treat a group and we leave a group, you know, like that, and so that it looks natural when you're finished.
Right, so it opens the space up, it thins the trees out, it leaves some areas that are open for grasslands and some wildlife, and yeah, I think it'd be great for people to get a picture of what a really good forest looks like.
And we try to retain all the parts that are there, you know. We don't take out, used to we would take out all the diseased trees, but those are habitat for, you know, different types of creatures, so we try to leave, you know, a variety of different habitats for all of animals and things we have out there.
Excellent. This is a place for us to take a break. We'll be right back with the county seat. We'll continue our conversation.
In a place that is beyond words, there is nothing to be said, except take your time in Bryce Canyon country.
The Utah Farm Bureau began as a collection of farmers supporting each other to raise the food we enjoy. Today, Farm Bureau membership encompasses everyone, whether ranchers, growers, or just everyday folks like you and me. Members enjoy discounts on items like vehicles and ATVs, or insurance that's very affordable. You don't have to be a farmer to join, and dues are small, but together we make a big difference in keeping our food supply local and abundant. Join Utah Farm Bureau.
For 7 years, Utah's Community Voice has been the county seat, a program that looks beyond politics to spotlight the issues and stories that really matter to you and your community. Now you can help set Utah's agenda for the future by joining the conversation. Become a county seat sponsor and help support those conversations that are critical to the future of state government. Contact us at 801-947-8888 to make your contribution to help the voice of Utah be heard like never before.
Utah has a national treasure where winding canyons stretch to the horizon, where nature forms elegant structures, and where iconic monuments of the West stand tall. Visitors around the world come to get a glimpse of southern Utah's legendary landscape and landmarks. Join them and explore San Juan County, Utah's Canyon Country.
Welcome back to the county seat. We're having a conversation about some new and innovative ways that we might be approaching management in the North Kaibab with a restoration project on over 500,000 acres. Jim, as a private industry guy who has experience on that side, is that the sort of landscape size things that could attract a commercial component that may help the Forest Service offset their costs?
In fact, it would probably attract several interests, you know, that would end up competing with each other for the rights to access the raw material that would be taken from the lands in order to meet those management requirements. So as we start to do that, then we'll see bidding that will raise the price of that material. And as we put it into the building material cycle, I think we're all going to benefit from that. So we're going to have jobs. Boy, wow.
So there are quite a few upsides, other than there's some people who just don't believe that anybody should profit off of public lands even when it's managed. Here's my question though, and this is for both of you. In a lot of people's minds, and at one point, not too many years ago in my mind, it's when somebody went in and logged, they cut everything, and then they planted seeds and it grew up, and then 50 years later they'd cut it again. And it's been universally decided that's not a good thing. So has our technology changed to a point where we can actually manage the kind of cutting that you are prescribing this on a large scale, where you target a certain diameter of tree and you leave so many that are diseased, and you kind of cherry pick how you clean an area out? Or you know, just do flying saws off helicopters help that? And that's my question.
Well, I think we still do clear cuts in certain species of trees. Up here we have mostly ponderosa pine, and so we do uneven age management in that type.
What is uneven age management? What does that mean?
It means that you have all different ages of trees on the landscape. You don't go in, like a clear cut is even age management, so you'd go in and you'd take them all out, and so as they're planted, they all grow up equally, and so they're all the same age, all the same cohort.
So in this case, you're just saying, okay, we're going to go through and we're going to target this area, and we're going to take out the 50-year-old trees or the 30-year-old trees or the trees that are 9 inches in diameter or 20 inches or whatever, and you set a specific target and say that's what we're going to take out of this area?
On uneven age management?
Yeah.
No, we take all ages, but we leave all ages as well. We take some, we leave some, but they're in patches, more the way that a natural forest would grow with ponderosa pine.
Okay, very good. Can people make that viable? I mean, I know there's a lot more you can take out of a forest now because you can make biomass and different things.
You know, I think the main thing that's inhibiting communities and investments in these communities adjacent to the forest is the stability of the federal programs to produce this stuff. Industry will adapt to whatever is available. And so it's now it's a matter of saying, okay, for that particular landscape, there's what the objectives are. We're going to call for these proposals. And oh, by the way, we're going to set a minimum price. And would you guys mind meeting here at 2 o'clock Thursday, October 25th? And we'll bid that project out. And if it has any size, any substance to it, you'll find 3 to 5 different people here competing to take that project on.
But they've got to have enough longevity in the time period to make it worth making the investment. Is that how that works?
Yes.
Okay, that leads me to another question, and we'll do that right after we take another quick break.
There are meetings, and then there are gatherings. At the Davis Conference Center, we know the difference. Turn your event into something more than just another business summit. With over 70,000 square feet of flexible meeting space, state-of-the-art presentation amenities, and inspiring architecture, the Davis Conference Center is designed to deliver stellar results in a majestic setting. Take your convention to the next level. Schedule now at davisconferencecenter.com.
This is what adventure looks like, and here's what it sounds like. Southwest Utah's Iron County offers some of the most iconic trails within the state that include 200 miles of new trails to be discovered. Check out ironcounty.net for info and interactive maps for your complete guide to off-roading. Explore countless miles of trails in the heart of Dixie National Forest, the gateway to Utah National Parks, Iron County. Crisp, colorful, a world in transition. You don't have to travel the back roads of Maine to explore autumn in all of its glory. Beaver County offers fall in unique splendor, with drives along forgotten canyons and hikes through meadows exploding with vibrant hues of red and yellow. Hit the road with your family and discover a side of Beaver County you never knew you were missing. Autumn is fleeting, so don't hesitate. Beaver County, it's time to experience the real Utah.
Welcome back to the county seat. I have a question, gentlemen. We've kind of talked about a program. You as a county official, elected official, and somebody who's had a previous life in commercial forestry, and you as a lifelong forest administrator, you have a new program. You both are on the same page, which doesn't always happen. And I guess my question is, what is the secret to success to making this pilot project a reality that people engage in?
We have the NEPA process that I mentioned earlier. It has standards and guidelines, and if we follow those processes, if we have folks that are wanting to inhibit our movement for whatever reason, they can't do that because we'll move forward because we follow the rules and the laws. Once you get it in front of a judge, they'll see that you follow the rules, and so we're going to move forward. You covered all your bases, you analyzed all the effects to the different resources, and that's what we do under NEPA. We analyze all the resources.
If you guys are effective enough, can you shorten the time of those lawsuits to the point where they just give up trying?
Well, we do have a new process where it's an objective process and it's not an appeal process. So we try to get those objections out of the way before we actually sign the document now. And so we work with folks to see, why are you objecting to this process so we can understand, and then, if they have a point, then we can change what we're doing so they can understand what we are doing.
What are your thoughts about the secrets of that?
I think that as Randall has described this thing, it's a necessity that we figure out how to make this thing work and do it in the collective and do it mutually with every interested and possibly be involved. And if someone wants to blow up the programs, let them go ahead and get a shot at it. But otherwise, if someone's going to come here and make an investment and want to produce a product and it's going to come from raw material off the National Forest, let's create the direction of going that way.
So if we're setting a goal of having a sustainable, healthy prime forest, does it take private industry partnering with the Forest Service to make that viable and better for the environment in general?
Yes, because we don't have the money or the budget to do that, and they have that, and it provides a product and helps the economy of the local folks because it provides jobs for the local people at the mill.
Gifford Pinchot would be proud. Anyway, it's been a very good conversation. We invite you to share this with your friends. You can go onto our social media pages. You can watch it again on YouTube. We have lots of ways for you to engage in the process, and we also welcome your comments about this program so that we can all benefit from different points of view. So when you get to social media, like us, follow us, and comment. And remember that local government is where your life takes place. Be part of it, be involved, be part of that process, and we'll look for you next week on the County Seat.